Powell's Plan, Ways of Water in the West, by Ashley Forrest and Maggie Holcomb.
During the 1800s, an age of discovery, John Wesley Powell made a perilous and ultimately triumphant expedition down the Colorado and Green River. A lack of natural resources in the western United States influenced Powell's prediction, which suggested that the West should be mapped around areas of natural water because there was little of it. Despite the accuracy of his plan, the government tragically rejected his ideas. As a result, the growing population of Western residents will never receive the amount of water promised by the misguided political acts passed in defiance of Powell's prediction.
In the year of Powell's expedition, 1869, 8 territories existed, and states were yet to be mapped out. He strongly suggested that the populous areas in the West be settled around areas of natural water. Many explorers journeyed west in order to more understand the resources and land of the western United States. John Wesley Powell was among these explorers who had a deep interest in knowledge and natural phenomena. Powell was a teacher and soldier before journeying west.
The crew of 10, John Wesley Powell, Walter Powell, John Sumner, O.G. Howland, Seneca Howland, William Dunn, Billy Hawkins, Frank Goodman, Andrew Hall, and George Bradley began the expedition at the foot of the Colorado River on May 24, 1869. We have an unknown distance yet to run, an unknown river yet to explore. What falls there are, we know not. What rocks beset the channel, we know not. What walls rise over the river, we know not, writes Powell in his journal, May of 1869.
With triumph of subtlety, John Wesley Powell was forced to overcome the struggles he faced as he carried out his expedition downstream. This was the route Powell took on his journey. Powell writes in his journal, "Hurled back from a rock, now on this side, now on that. We are carried into an eddy in which we struggle for a few minutes and then are out again, the breakers still rolling over us. Our boat is unmanageable, but she cannot sink, and we drift down another 100 yards through breakers. How, we scarcely know. But by this time my muscles are exhausted, and I cannot climb longer."
Powell also lost a boat to the river carrying many necessities such as food, water, barometers, and medicinal supplies. He writes in his journal, "We have but a month's rations remaining. The flour has been resifted through the mosquito net sieve, the spoiled bacon dried, and the worst of it boiled. The sugar is all melted and gone its way down the river."
6 men out of the original 10 finished the entirety of the journey on August 30th, ending at the mouth of the Virgin River in Utah. Powell later mapped out much of the Colorado River and helped the natives through their forced assimilation. Along his expedition, Powell observed the limited natural resources in the West and writes, "Show us the springs and water pockets, which are very scarce in all this region."
He believed it was appropriate to map the smaller territories, states, around areas of natural water because with the predicted growing population, Powell assumed of droughts amongst the people. This is Powell's map of the western United States, proposing to map states around areas of natural water. Geographically, the capitals of states, areas with dense populations, would be found in different locations near sources of natural water such as rivers and lakes. With this map, cities with greater need for water would be able to support themselves without artificial water.
In the 1870s, no immediate action was taken to help promise reliable, clean water in the western United States. It was over 50 years after John Wesley Powell finished his expedition that the government made a serious attempt to aid the predicted water shortages. In 1922, the state representatives of Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, Nevada, Arizona, and California came to an agreement and signed the Colorado River Compact.
The Colorado Compact divides over 15 million acre-feet of water among 7 states in the upper and lower basin. The lower basin states include California, Arizona, and Nevada. The upper basin states include Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and New Mexico.
Though the compact works to distribute water evenly and fairly, the original allotments in the compact were inaccurate and can't be fulfilled. Also, many states in times of drought or little water can't promise all citizens a substantial amount of water. Kevin Rain, Colorado State Engineer for Division of Water Resources, states,
"When you really look at that compact, it assumed at the time that there would probably be about 16 million of acre-feet of water available in the basin each year."
Right.
And that was a high estimate. That was not accurate.
"There is not as much water in the river as they expected and allocated to all of the states."
California, Colorado, and Utah are some of the many surrounding states who have implemented a prior appropriation system. This policy ensures that those with the most senior water rights are given the water needed and wanted. The water is first given to those first in time, It is then delegated to the next senior and lastly the most junior. In a recorded phone call, Robert Ginaldi, Division 7 engineer for the Colorado Department of Water Resources, states,
last year there was places that didn't get all the water that they would have liked or needed. There are many people that would have typically gotten water in this area were cut off from taking water.
Ken Jones, Utah State Engineer for Division of Water Rights, states, during some years there isn't enough water and the state engineer then has to distribute the water on priority basis by cutting off junior users until there's enough water to satisfy those senior users still using the water. He goes on to say, when the upper basin can't deliver the required 75 million acre-feet over a 10-year average, the rights will have to be curtailed in order to meet the downstream demands. Water shortage is apparent throughout the entirety of both the upper and lower basin states in the West.
Justine Herrick, a representative for California's water rights, mentions in an interview that some Californian citizens will reduce the size of lawns at houses for artificial turf, fix leaking pipes, or use recycled water to irrigate city parks in order to conserve water. Also, Lake Havasu, on the border of California and Arizona, pipes water 242 miles to reach the city of Los Angeles and 336 miles to reach Phoenix. This water is essential to support these large cities, but costly and time-consuming. The drastic measures citizens take in order to have water in their communities are a result of Congress's ignorance to Powell's knowledgeable plan. Congress had little idea of the geography of the West, while Powell was educated about the region. The Colorado River will eventually run dry as a result of damming and diversion of water. With little water in the West, many people have rights to more water than the sources can normally support. Kevin Rain states, in the South Platte River Basin, the river is very much what we call over-appropriated. That means that people have gotten water rights that add up to more than the river can normally support. This graph shows from 2000 to 2010, water usage has exceeded water supply. Water usage is shown with the yellow line and water supply with the blue line. This is a result of drought and overappropriation of water sources. In times of drought, some citizens are curtailed and don't receive the water they need, while others use water that is being brought in from over 100 miles away. Water shortage is a large problem in the western United States that will continue to worsen in the future. With differently mapped states in our country, it would be easier to get natural water, and artificial ways of receiving water would be avoided. When looking at the map Powell suggested, it is apparent that there are more water sources in every state. With this, cities and states would not have to artificially acquire water from surrounding areas. Even with the water that is artificially drawn from other areas, drought and the effects of drought occur in the upper and lower basins. Wildfires, a decimation of habitats, and poor crop production are effects of little precipitation. These have both economic and environmental effects on society. This graph shows the progression of drought in California as it worsens every year. In January of 2011, abnormal drought occurred, though in January of 2017, exceptional drought occurred. Wildfires worsen over the years, and artificial water provides little help for maintaining them. Crop production in areas of drought has also decreased in the last 30 years due to many contributing factors, including water shortages. The money being made from exportation is decreasing, therefore affecting their economy. Water is crucial for human life. As many problems relating to water are becoming more frequent, it's important to have natural water available to save money and resources. With artificial systems giving the population water, situations are bound to worsen. When John Wesley Powell returned from his 4-month-long expedition through the Grand Canyon, he informed senators and government workers of the limited resources in the western United States. Unfortunately, his suggestions and proposals were dismissed and no action was taken for over 50 years. During that time, the water in the West decreased while the populations increased significantly. In an attempt to conserve water, many means were taken, though they resulted in water tragedies in the West. With water sources in each territory in Powell's prediction, water allotments may have improved and more of the population be given water.